Hi, this is Jennie Walker and welcome to Start Talking. Today I'm going to talk about the new Poshmark sales report. It came out just a few days ago and I was really excited to hear that because in my last episode where I mentioned Poshmark, this was not the case. There was no sales report, and so I'm just thrilled to see that this has happened, and it's going to be a wonderful sales tool for us sellers, us resellers, to use on the Poshmark app. Now, some of the things on this spreadsheet, and this is a sales activity report CVS file, and what I did was I merged the two files and created one so I could have my total history in one place and put them on one spreadsheet. And I've organized it by brand right now, and I've been looking at the brands I've been selling, and there's no surprise to me at what's on here. I think it's really important to see it in writing and to see these hard facts about how many things I've sold, when, and for how much, and by what brands, the styles. And I think it's going to be really good tool to use going forward, so I can always have some hard data to refer to and not just go on gut feeling or what I remember about what's selling on Poshmark. Now, for me, my feeling had been that the things that were selling here were cuter, younger, hipper, appealing to a younger demographic. And when I look at the brands that have sold and the ones that have sold the most, that gut feeling definitely follows the data here. So, my number one selling brand with the most, not by price point but by number of items, was H&M. And next to that was BCBG. I sold something by BCBG Max Azria and also BCBG Generation. There's also sales by Zara, which is no surprise. It's in the same category there. Free People, which is always highly sought after. We've got something by Guess. And what's interesting is I put on Poshmark some of the stuff I hadn't been able to move on eBay, and so to see it move and to see at what price point is really eye-opening. So this sales report is going to be really great tool to use when I move forward and I'm out there scouting for new inventory for Poshmark. On Poshmark, I don't have any inventory on Poshmark. I don't also have on eBay, and eBay has historically been able to give sellers all kinds of data and statistics. But that's not the case for Poshmark, but they're growing 4 million strong and just had their first $1 million payout, someone who had cumulatively had reached the $1 million level, which is after I think 5 years, which is just extraordinary. So they're growing by leaps and bounds, and I'm brand new on the app, so I'm going to be learning how to use it right along with everyone else. Some of the data on this sales report is the listing date for the item, the order date, so you can get an idea of how long it took to sell, the listing title, the category, such as is it a dress, is it a handbag, is it a sweater, subcategory, the type of skirt, for example, pencil skirt seems to be really popular on my JennieGirl's Closet Poshmark page, the brand name, the color. Now the colors, Poshmark only allows you to pick 2 colors, which I've never really understood that, but because really, like, what would it take to add, like, the ability to click on a few more? I have no idea. But when you get the color data, it's merged on one column, so in order to break it out, you would need to manually do that. But they do have the color, so you could sort by that. And no one will be surprised that black is the number one color that has sold in my closet, mostly because that's what I have for sale, but I think in general that's a safe color for everyone. By size, and what's interesting is there's no correlation between my actual size and the size of what has sold, and that's because I have inventory of all sizes on there, which is kind of interesting because Poshmark allows you to put in your size so that I think when they're throwing listings your way, you can see things that would actually fit you. You don't need to see a lot of extra smalls if you're an extra large, for example. So in the size column, whether it's a bundle order, I've had exactly one order with 4 items in it. I was just thrilled because I kept hearing about what this bundling thing was, and I wasn't quite sure. But now I get it. It's a way to save on postage. And so that was thrilling. And whether it was an offer order or one where they just bought it straight out. Now, that's kind of interesting because there are only 3 items of all of my items that they just purchased it without putting in an offer. They just say, click, it's mine. And I know on Poshmark, when I do that, it's because it's something that I've been looking for, and I don't want to take a risk of someone else buying it who might also be looking for it. So I get that. So if I'm analyzing, okay, what are people looking for then? Well, apparently they're looking for Rolling Stone t-shirts because I've sold 2 or 3 of them. And according to this data, the one that someone bought, they did not haggle over the price and just bought it outright. So perhaps it was a really good one. I didn't know it. So that's quite possible because I'm not an expert in vintage rocker tees. I just know that people look for them and are willing to pay a whole lot of money if it's really special. There's the order price. The seller shipping is all zeros in my case. Since I didn't, I guess, pay any extra shipping. I'm not sure what that's about, but we don't deal with shipping. So in these orders where you offer discounts and things, I guess they just have that rolled into the earnings that you've received in some way, but don't break it out. Have my net earnings, and then the buyer by state, and then the buyer by zip code. And so I think if I analyze the state, a lot of people in New York, which is not surprising because I'm from New York, and the kinds of items that I have had generally in my eBay store and on Poshmark have been New York centric. I mean, because there's a lot of black there and a lot of heavier fabrics in that marketplace, and it's a certain style, so I'm not surprised by that. And the zip code. Unfortunately, there is no address or customer information on here, and so the only way you're going to be able to get that is if you save the label that they sent to you for the buyer, which would allow you, in theory, to be in touch with them on your own and, trying to be in touch with them that way. I think probably the best way to be in touch with them is put something in the box. Anyway, so now that I have my new Poshmark sales report, and it's unfortunately they don't do a year-to-date one. They make you. I had to do 2 different reports, one for year-to-date for 2018 and one year for the whole year of 2017. There was no way to get one that was from the beginning to the present. So what I did was combined them both on one spreadsheet on this going to the pharmacy, on this CSV sales activity report. And I merged them together manually, and so it's all right here for me to see. So the next time I go out hunting, I'm going to be keeping this in mind. There's a lot of brands that sell on Poshmark. I just don't have it in my inventory. I have about 1,000 pieces of inventory-ish that is, I guess, quote-unquote, available and for sale on eBay and Poshmark. And there's probably another 1,000 things I could list just in my own closet. And from what we all call those little piles of clothes that you've never listed, I have a number of those. But when I think about these brands that are selling and what I have, I'm not sure that a lot of the inventory that I have is even right for Poshmark. And so, and that's because a lot of the brands that are selling, I don't actually own myself. So I don't have like a back stock of things from my own closet I can pull out. And so a lot of this, I'm just older. I'm not in my 20s. I'm not in my 30s. Not in my 40s. So what does that leave? So of course I'm not going to be wearing a lot of these younger styles. Wow, I just heard this sound. I got an offer. It's an offer on eBay. Oh, that is fantastic. My vintage mauve skirt, red, white, and blue, roses, lips, ruffle. I will bet they're going to wear that for 4th of July. That would be perfect. That is something I've had for a while. I've been hoping to sell for a long time. And, the right person never saw it, I think, because it's super cute. I don't even think I have that one listed on Poshmark, but I'm going to accept that offer right now, and I think it's going to make a cha-ching, there's nothing like the eBay cha-ching. They need to have one of those. There you go. I need to have one on Poshmark. So anyway, back to the statistics. So yeah, I mean, so a lot of this analyzing of the sales report has to do with, well, if you want some sort of consistency in your Poshmark closet and some sort of branding and some sort of way to set yourself apart as basically a online retailer, no different than if you were walking down the physical mall. I haven't done that in 7 months. I haven't been in a mall. But say you're walking down the mall. So this is the online mall of Poshmark. And how are you different from your neighbors? So yeah, when I look at this and I think about, I'm somewhere between build a field and they will come, that I really want to do my own thing with my own aesthetic and my own look and feel so that my pieces are a certain way. But if nobody's buying that, then I'm just got a looking at closet, which is sort of like sitting shoes, those heels that are 6 inches tall that are what my mama used to call sitting shoes, to get you from the taxi to the table. But I don't want to have a bunch of looking at clothes. I actually want clothes that are going to sell. And it's a little oxymoron for me because I love clothes so much that I could actually just look at them and not sell them. But that's not a good thing for a retailer or a reseller or the co-owner of a luxury consignment shop. So it's all about moving units, and I looked at my cumulative total, and I'll be honest, I was really surprised that I had already earned as much as I had and on Poshmark, and I'm just playing with it. Like, I'm just playing around with it. That doesn't have my full-time attention at all. So to see the potential here is really extraordinary, and I think the whole idea of multi-platform is terrific, and I do think you can give a lot of yourself and be multi-platform and it not take away from the other. And I say that because I've been so focused on eBay with 2 eBay stores. At one time I had a 3rd store, and it was all my time, all my attention. But even with all of that, I was constantly hearing about Poshmark. I was finding YouTube videos on Poshmark. I was reading articles in the newspaper on Poshmark. So sort of like it's out there in the zeitgeist, it's out there and people are using it. They're making money. They have their milestones that they've hit. And it's really hard. There's a point at which you can't ignore something. And the thing that actually got me onto Poshmark was I have this luxury consignment shop in Pasadena, California called Viden Luxury Consignment. And we've been open about 2 years. And when we opened, I happened to have... they're like these dress forms that I bought from the old Lomans that shut down when I lived in New York City. And they're not mannequins, but they're dress forms you would use to create clothing with. They're real dress forms, not like pretend dress forms, like they're the $600, $700, $800 dress forms that you buy when you're a professional who's making clothing, like Project Runway kind of dress forms. And I didn't pay that for them, but I got them when my lovely dear Lomans went out of business, which is its own podcast, I think, right there. But anyway, so I had brought those with me when I moved to Pasadena and just had them in my apartment. And when I ended up opening this store with my business partner, obviously I put my dress forms in there and we used those to take photos with. So I hadn't had access to the dress forms and for a long, long time. And if I needed to take a picture of something, I would just bring it into the store, take a picture on a blank wall and bring it home. But it got to the point where we knew we need to buy our own forms to take pictures with in the store. So I went ahead and brought them home. But there was that period before they came back, and I was just like, this is exhausting, hauling things back and forth to the store. Let me just, instead of building up the eBay store right now, let me just put some things on Poshmark and just see, because all I need is a door and a hanger, because that's what I had heard and that's what I had seen other people do really effectively. So I got my fancy hanger out and I put my white door open. I just started listing stuff without much thought. And to think that that something as simple as that, and the app is so easy to use, like, click, 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 and you're done. I mean, you aren't required to put in all the data, you are on eBay and other platforms. So it's so friendly. And, once you start using it and having your sales, making ambassador, it really, really makes you comfortable. So that's really was the impetus that got me focused on it. And now that I've been using it, and obviously I wasn't putting things in my eBay resale store very much because I was now focused on Poshmark. So obviously that was, not growing. So obviously that impacts the level of sales when you're not feeding the beast, so to speak. So I was really fascinated to see this grow. And so now it has me thinking, well, then the idea becomes to be multi-platform. And how to do that is you put it on eBay, then you pop it on Poshmark. These are probably people on eBay who've never been on Poshmark, and people on Poshmark who have never darkened the door of an eBay store. I mean, these are, and basically the whole world is out there. I mean, with Poshmark, it's obviously a US-based app, and right now I think it's just in the United States. And with eBay, you have a global audience. So to me, it's just like infinity when you think about the number of people in the world who could be a potential customer of you. So, of yours. So to me, this is the strategy going forward: is being multi-platform, using the sales data, and seeing where it takes you. So the sales data says to me, my luxury brands like my Chanel and my Louis Vuitton and my Yves Saint Laurent and my Dolce & Gabbana right now are not what is selling on Poshmark. It's all selling on eBay, where people have good rankings and you can be trusted sellers, and there's a lot of feedback. And I think that makes perfect sense because I've had very, very mixed results buying on Poshmark. And I would say that the trust factor isn't there in the way that it is on eBay in terms of being understanding people's feedback and if they're responsible and things like that. So, and on Poshmark where things are final sale, I mean, it really gives you pause to order something that's more expensive, I think. But for me, this is how it's breaking down. This is all subject to change, of course, but right now the luxury brands are selling well and vibrantly on eBay and through the global shipping program. I shipped a $700 or $800 Chanel belt over to England, and they seemed quite happy with that. And another order I had was a multiple order, which is always fun. 2 pair of Yves Saint Laurent boots. One was they were both velvet and both new and never worn, and then a velvet dress to someone in the United States, and they were thrilled. So, it just goes to show that for me, in my taste and my customers and the store I've built, eBay is luxury brands for me. And on Poshmark, I've been selling the non-luxury brands and the younger ones. So my take is this is a fantastic report. If you are on Poshmark and you have not yet downloaded your report, I think you should do it. Do it as fast as you can. Take a look. It's going to be a great tool going forward so that you can analyze what's selling. And this is how it's done in the real world. So buyers in department stores, they've been working off of data, as an industry standard. So as resellers, taking our game to this professional level, I think is really important. So there we have it. So this is Jennie Walker. I own JennieGirl's Closet, the resale store on Poshmark and on eBay, co-owner of Walker Viden Luxury Consignment in Pasadena, California. I appreciate your time. I will be doing more podcasts on Poshmark because they seem to be very popular, and I will take you through my experience on the app as I learn and I grow with it, and I appreciate your time. So if you like what you've heard here, please subscribe and share with others. And I am lining up some guests to be on some other shows, and it's a lot more interesting podcast when you are going back and forth with other people. So I'm not here to monologue everyone here indefinitely. So I'm working on some interesting guests, and hopefully I'll get some confirmations and can bring those podcasts to you very shortly. So thank you for your time. Again, this is Jennie Walker, and thank you for listening.